The man in the presidential suite smiled as he slid the envelope across the desk. $10,000 cash? The hospital director's hands trembled as he reached for it. But before his fingers touched the paper, a nurse's voice cut through the room. One word, spoken quietly. A code word no civilian should know. Within minutes, the hospital was surrounded. Black SUVs, armed agents. And everyone wanted to know the same thing. Who was she? Sarah Chen had been a nurse at Mercy General for 3 years. She worked the night shift. She kept her head down. She never complained. Her badge said RN Cardiac Unit, nothing more. That Wednesday afternoon, she was called to the director's office. Dr. Marcus Webb sat behind his mahogany desk, sweat beading on his forehead. Beside him stood 2 men in expensive suits. And in the chair across from them sat the patient from the presidential suite. Victor Markov. The name had been whispered through the halls all week. A foreign businessman. Wealthy beyond measure. Demanding, rude. He'd arrived with a private security team and insisted on complete privacy. But Sarah had seen his face before. Years ago, in a classified briefing. Nurse Chen, Dr. Webb began, his voice tight. Mr. Markov has expressed concern about the quality of care he's receiving. Markov leaned back in his chair. Gold watch, silk tie. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. I require different staff, he said. His accent was thick, Eastern European. I am willing to compensate the hospital generously for this accommodation. He slid a white envelope across the desk. Dr. Webb stared at it. The room fell silent, except for the hum of the air conditioning. Sarah stood perfectly still, her hands clasped behind her back. Military posture. Old habit. How generous. Doctor? Webb asked quietly. Markov's smile widened. $10,000? Cash. To reassign certain nurses. To ensure my privacy is absolute, the director's fingers twitched toward the envelope. Sarah's heart rate didn't change. She'd been trained for this. Years of training, situations far worse than a bribe in a hospital office. She recognized what this was, a test, or a threat.
How?
Maybe both. Dr. Webb, she said softly, I don't think that's appropriate. The director's head snapped toward her. Nurse Chen, I didn't ask for your opinion. I understand, sir, but I need to point something out. Markov's eyes narrowed. One of his security guards shifted his weight. Sarah took a breath. She had 2 choices. Walk away and let this play out, or use the authority she'd kept buried for 3 years. She looked directly at Markov. Your request involves altering medical records and restricting access to a patient's room. Violates federal healthcare laws. If I'm not mistaken, it also violates the Patriot Act provisions regarding suspicious financial transactions in medical facilities. The room went cold. Dr. Webb's face flushed red. Nurse Chen, you're dismissed. But Sarah didn't move. She kept her eyes on Markov, and she spoke one word, quietly, clearly nightfall. The reaction was immediate. Markov's face went white. His guard reached for his jacket. Dr. Webb stood up, confused and angry. But Sarah was already moving. She stepped to the door, opened it, and spoke to the security officer in the hallway. Code nightfall. Lock down the building. Nobody leaves. The officer stared at her. Ma'am, I don't. She pulled her hospital badge off. Flipped it over. On the back was a second badge. Federal, high-level clearance. The officer's eyes went wide, grabbed his radio. Within 60 seconds, alarms began to sound. If you want to see what happens next, subscribe to Silent Badge Stories. Because this is only the beginning. Dr. Webb was shouting now. What have you done? You're fired. Security? But outside the windows, black SUVs were already pulling into the parking lot. Sarah turned back to Markov. Her voice was calm, professional. Deadly, Mr. Markov. You're under federal surveillance for trafficking classified medical technology. You just attempted to bribe a hospital official in front of a federal agent. And you triggered a security protocol that's about to bring a lot of people you don't want to meet. Markov lunged from his chair. His guard pulled a weapon. Sarah moved faster. 3 years of pretending to be ordinary. 3 years of muscle memory buried under scrubs and clipboard rounds. She disarmed the guard in 2 moves. The gun clattered to the floor. The guard hit the wall, gasping. Dr. Webb stumbled backward, knocking over his chair and through the window. Sarah could see the tactical teams moving into position. The hospital's emergency lockdown system engaged with a mechanical thud. Steel shutters dropped over the windows, doors sealed with electromagnetic locks. Patients and staff froze in the hallways, confused and frightened. Sarah kept her hand on Markov's guard, pinning him against the wall. The man was trained. She could feel it in how he'd moved. But she was better. Dr. Webb's voice cracked. "What is happening? Who are you?" Sarah didn't answer him. She was listening, counting footsteps in the hallway, calculating response times. 3 years away from the field, but the instincts never left. Markov slowly raised his hands. The smile was gone. His eyes were sharp now, calculating. "You are making a mistake," he said quietly. "I have diplomatic immunity." "No," Sarah replied. "You have a fake passport and a medical visa obtained through falsified documents. Your immunity claim was revoked 6 months ago. You just don't know it yet." The door burst open. Hospital security poured in, guns drawn. But they stopped when they saw Sarah's federal badge on the desk. The lead security officer, Miguel Reyes, had worked with Sarah for 2 years. He knew her as the quiet nurse who brought coffee to the night shift. Now he stared at the badge like it was a hallucination. "Nurse Chen, Special Agent Chen," she corrected. "I need you to secure this floor. Nobody in or out. Federal teams are en route." Miguel's training kicked in. He nodded, barking orders into his radio. His team moved to the doors. Dr. Webb sank into his chair, his face gray. "This can't be real." Sarah finally looked at him. There was no anger in her expression, just duty. "Dr. Webb, you were about to accept a bribe from a foreign national under federal investigation. I need you to remain here. Don't touch anything. Don't make any calls." "But I didn't. I wasn't going to." "You reached for the envelope, sir?" The shame in his eyes told her everything. Outside, the sound of helicopters rumbled overhead. Sarah moved to the window. Through the gaps in the shutters, she could see the parking lot filling with vehicles. FBI, Homeland Security, and one black sedan that made her stomach tighten. That car meant her cover was completely blown. She'd spent 3 years building this identity. 3 years of bedpans and vitals and pretending she didn't notice when patients lied about their symptoms. 3 years hiding in plain sight, all of it gone in 60 seconds. Markov watched her carefully. "You have been here a long time." "Watching me." "Not you specifically," Sarah said, "but people like you. This hospital treats foreign nationals, diplomats, politicians. It's a crossroads, and crossroads need watchers. So you are a spy." "I'm a nurse." That part was real, and it was. Training had been real. The certification, the long shifts, and the patients she'd saved. She'd wanted both lives, the mission and the healing, but she'd always known which one would win. The door opened again. This time, federal agents in tactical gear entered. They moved with precision, securing Markov and his guard. One of them nodded to Sarah. "Agent Chen, ASAC Morrison is requesting your presence in the command center." Sarah's jaw tightened. Morrison, her former supervisor. The man who'd authorized her deep cover assignment. He was here. It meant the operation was bigger than she'd thought. She turned to Dr. Webb. "Sir, I'm sorry for the deception, but this hospital was never in danger from me." He didn't respond, just stared at the envelope on his desk. Sarah left the office, flanked by agents. The hallways were chaos. Patients being moved to secure wings. Staff being questioned. Nurses she'd worked beside for years staring at her like she was a stranger, because to them, she was. The command center had been set up in the hospital's conference room, monitors showing security feeds, agents coordinating with teams outside. And in the center of it all, Assistant Special Agent in charge, Richard Morrison. 50 years old, silver hair, eyes like a hawk. He looked up when Sarah entered. "Agent Chen, good work on the verbal trigger." We've been waiting for Markov to make contact with his network. He was trying to bribe the director to change his care team. It's probably to get access to the secure pharmacy. Morrison nodded. Markov's been stealing pharmaceutical-grade compounds used in bioweapon research. We've tracked him through 4 countries. He came here because Mercy General has one of the best oncology labs on the East Coast. He's not sick. No, he's shopping. Sarah felt the weight of it settle on her. This wasn't just about bribery. This was about weapons. Death on a scale that made her 3 years of cover work seem insignificant. "What do you need from me?" she asked. Morrison's expression shifted. Something uncomfortable, almost apologetic. "Sarah, there's been a development. Someone else is here, someone who outranks me, and they're asking for you." Sarah's pulse quickened. Someone who outranked Morrison. That narrowed the list considerably. "Who?" she asked. Morrison gestured to the window. "See for yourself." She moved to the glass. Below, in the secured parking lot, a motorcade had arrived. Not FBI standard. Not even Secret Service standard, military, 3 armored vehicles. A full security detail. And in the center, a flag she recognized immediately. 4 stars. Her breath caught. "General Rachel Winters," Morrison said quietly. "Commander of Special Operations Command. She flew in from Fort Bragg 30 minutes ago." Sarah's mind raced. General Winters. The first female 4-star general in SOCOM history. A legend. And Sarah's former commanding officer from a lifetime ago. Before the FBI. Before the nursing degree. Before she'd traded her uniform for scrubs. Why is she here? Sarah whispered. "You'll have to ask her yourself." The door to the command center opened. Agents snapped to attention, and General Rachel Winters walked in. She was 58, lean, gray hair pulled back tight, uniform immaculate. Medals earned through blood and sand and decisions. That kept ordinary people safe while they slept. Her eyes found Sarah immediately. "Agent Chen." Word. Privately. It wasn't a request, Morrison. And the other agents cleared the room without hesitation. The door closed with a soft click. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Then Winters smiled. "Just barely. Still can't stay out of trouble, Captain." Sarah's chest tightened. That rank. She hadn't heard it in 5 years. "Ma'am, you're not active duty." "I know. You resigned your commission to join the FBI's Special Intelligence Unit. Impressive lateral move. But you're still mine, Sarah. You always were." Winters moved to the monitors, studying the security feeds. "Markov is a problem, but he's a symptom. The real disease is the network he's part of, and it goes deeper than bioweapons." She turned back to Sarah. "How much did Morrison tell you?" "Just that Markov was stealing pharmaceutical compounds. He's stealing something else, too. Something we didn't know was even here until yesterday." Winters pulled a tablet from her jacket. She swiped through classified files. Sarah's clearance was high, but these documents made her access level look like a library card. 6 months ago. A research team at this hospital developed a synthetic antibody. Experimental. Not FDA approved. It has the potential to neutralize nerve agents. Chemical weapons. We're talking about a compound that could save thousands of lives in a biological attack. Sarah's eyes widened. Mercy General developed that? In partnership with DARPA. Quietly, the oncology lab was cover. The real work was happening in the sub-basement research wing. Only 5 people in the hospital knew about it. Markov found out. Orsi already has a sample. We intercepted communications confirming a dead drop was made 2 days ago. Somewhere in this hospital, someone handed him access to one of the most dangerous defensive technologies the U.S. has ever created. The weight of it hit Sarah like a punch. Markov wasn't just a thief. He was a vector. Whatever he'd stolen could end up in the hands of hostile nations. Terrorist organizations? Who gave it to him? Sarah asked. That's what you're going to find out. Winters stepped closer. Her voice dropped. Sarah, I didn't come here just to brief you. I came here to reactivate you. The room seemed to shrink. Ma'am, I'm FBI now. I don't have authority, you do. As of 20 minutes ago, you've been seconded to Joint Special Operations Command under emergency national security provisions. Your FBI credentials are still active, but you report directly to me. Sarah's hands clenched. For how long? Until we find the mole. Until we recover the sample. Until we make sure this technology doesn't end up in the wrong hands. Winters handed her the tablet. On the screen was a list of names. Doctors, researchers, nurses, all personnel with access to the sub-basement lab. One of them is the traitor. And you're the only person I trust to find them without tipping them off. Sarah scanned the list. 37 names. Some she recognized. Dr. Helen Cortez, the head of oncology. James Park, a research fellow. Maria Santos, a senior nurse in the ICU. People she'd worked with. Eaten lunch with. Trusted. Why me? Sarah asked. Winter's expression softened. Just for a second. Because you're the best intelligence operative I ever trained. And because you've been living among them for 3 years, you know these people. You've seen how they work, how they think. She paused. And because you've always known how to be two things at once. A soldier and a healer. That's rare, Sarah. Don't waste it. The door opened. Morrison stepped in, his face grim. General, we have a situation. Markov's attorney just arrived. He's demanding immediate release and claiming diplomatic immunity through a shell corporation registered in Belarus. Winters didn't blink. Stall him. I don't care how. Morrison nodded and left. Sarah looked down at the list again. 37 names. One traitor, and somewhere in this hospital, a vial of synthetic antibody that could change the balance of global power. What are my rules of engagement? She asked. Winters smiled. The kind of smile that had terrified enemy combatants on 3 continents. Find the truth. Protect the asset. And if anyone gets in your way, remind them who you really are. Sarah felt the shift inside herself. The nurse falling away. The operator rising up. Yes, ma'am. Good now. Get to work, Captain. We're running out of time. Sarah moved through the hospital like a ghost. Federal agents had cordoned off sections of each floor, but she had override clearance now. Every door, every lab, every restricted area. The tablet Winters had given her contained more than just names. It had security footage, badge access logs, financial records. Communication, meted out, someone on that list had been in contact with Markov or his network. Sarah just had to find the pattern. She started with the sub-basement, the research wing that didn't officially exist. The elevator required 3 separate biometric scans: retina, fingerprint, voice recognition. Sarah's credentials unlocked all of them. The doors slid open with a hydraulic hiss. The air smelled different down here. Sterile, cold, chemical. The lights were lead white. Casting sharp shadows, a security station blocked the main corridor. 2 armed guards in tactical gear. They straightened when they saw her. Captain Chen, one of them said. The general briefed us. You have full access, Captain. Not agent. The word felt strange after 5 years. Sarah nodded. I need to see the containment logs. Every person who entered Lab 7 in the last 2 weeks. The guard pulled up the records on his terminal. Lab 7 is where they synthesize the antibody. Only 6 people have clearance. Sarah studied the screen. 6 names from the larger list. Dr. Helen Cortez, head of oncology. Dr. Benjamin Fry, lead biochemist. James Park, research fellow. Dr. Nina Okoye, immunology. Specialist Maria Santos, senior trauma nurse. Dr. Alan Reeves, deputy research director. Maria Santos. Sarah knew her. They'd worked the same night shifts. Maria was 43, calm under pressure. 2 kids. Husband in construction? Could she be the mole? Sarah's instincts said no. But instincts could be wrong. I need to interview each of them. Separately. Starting with whoever's in the building right now. The guard checked another screen. Dr. Okoye is in Lab 4. Dr. Reeves is in his office on the 3rd floor. Maria Santos is on shift in the trauma unit. Sarah made a decision. Bring Dr. Reeves down here. Tell him it's regarding the security breach. Don't mention my name. The guard hesitated. Ma'am, Dr. Reeves is the deputy director. He's going to have questions. Let him have them. I'll be in conference room B. 20 minutes later, Dr. Alan Reeves walked into the conference room. He was 50, balding, wire-rimmed glasses. The kind of man who spent more time with microscopes than people. He stopped when he saw Sarah sitting at the table, Nurse Chen. What's going on? They said there was a security breach. Sarah gestured to the chair across from her. Sit down, Dr. Reeves. He frowned, but obeyed. I don't understand. Why are you here? Where's the security team? Sarah slid her federal badge across the table. Because I am the security team. I've been embedded in this hospital for 3 years under deep cover. And right now, you're a person of interest in a federal investigation. The color drained from his face. What? I haven't done anything. Then answer my questions honestly. How many people know about this synthetic antibody project? Reeves swallowed hard. That's classified. I can't, Dr. Reeves. Classified doesn't mean anything right now. A foreign operative tried to bribe the hospital director this afternoon. We believe he already has a sample of the antibody, and someone in this hospital gave it to him. His hands started shaking. No, that's impossible. The security protocols, someone bypassed them. Someone with access. Someone on the inside. Hey. Sarah leaned forward. Where were you 2 days ago? Wednesday afternoon. Between 2 and 4 p.m.? I was in my office. I had administrative meetings. Budget reviews. Can anyone confirm that? My assistant, Janet Brennan. She was there the whole time. Sarah made a note on the tablet. Have you noticed anything unusual in the lab? Missing materials? Unusual access requests? Reeves hesitated. Just for a second, Sarah caught it. What is it? It's probably nothing. Tell me anyway. He adjusted his glasses. About a week ago, I found one of the cold storage units unlocked. Lab 7. The one where we keep the antibody samples. Sarah's pulse quickened. Unlocked how? The digital lock was disengaged, but there was no record of anyone accessing it. I thought it was a malfunction. I reported it to maintenance. Who has the override code for that unit? Just me and Dr. Cortez. Sarah studied his face. Fear, confusion, but not guilt. Not the kind she'd seen in interrogations. Reeves was scared because his world was collapsing. Not because he'd been caught. Is there anyone on your team who's been acting strangely? Financial trouble? Personal problems? Reeves thought for a moment. James Park, the research fellow. He's been distracted lately. Missed a few meetings, but he's young. Probably personal issues. Anyone else? Dr. Fry mentioned something about his ex-wife. Legal bills. But Ben's been here for 15 years. He's dedicated. Sarah nodded. Thank you, Dr. Reeves. You can go. But don't leave the building. And don't discuss this conversation with anyone. He stood slowly. Nurse Chunor, whoever you are, I need to know. Is the hospital in danger? Sarah met his eyes. The hospital is secure, but the work you've been doing here, it matters. More than you know. Keep it safe. He left, still shaking. Sarah reviewed her notes. The unlocked cold storage, that was the breach point. Someone had accessed it without leaving a digital trail. That took skill, technical knowledge, and opportunity. She pulled up financial records on the tablet. James Park's credit report showed student loans. Normal for a researcher. Benjamin Fry had legal fees from a divorce. Also normal? But then she saw something else. Maria Santos. 3 cash deposits in the last month, $2,000 each. Deposited into a savings account under her daughter's name. Sarah's chest tightened. No, not Maria, but the evidence was there. Unexplained income. Access to the lab through her senior clearance. And her shift schedule put her in the building at the exact times the cold storage had been accessed. Sarah stood up. She had to be sure. She left the research wing and took the elevator to the trauma unit. The hallways were still locked down, but staff were moving again. Controlled, monitored, she found Maria at the nurse's station, updating patient charts. "Maria," Sarah said quietly. "Can we talk?" Maria looked up. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. "Sarah, what's happening?" "They won't tell us anything. Just that there's some kind of federal situation. I need you to come with me. Just for a few minutes." Maria's hands trembled. "Am I in trouble?" Sarah's heart broke a little. "I just need to ask you some questions." They sat in a small consultation room on the 4th floor. Maria gripped her coffee cup with both hands, knuckles white. Sarah kept her voice gentle. "Maria, how long have we worked together?" 2 years. Maybe a little more. Have I ever lied to you?" Maria shook her head. "No. You're the most honest person I know." Sarah felt the weight of that statement. The irony of it. 3 years of deception? But in the ways that mattered in patient care, in friendships, she'd always been real. "I need to tell you something," Sarah said. "And I need you to stay calm." Maria's eyes widened. "You're scaring me. Not just a nurse. I'm a federal agent. I've been working undercover in this hospital for 3 years. The cup slipped from Maria's hands. Coffee spilled across the table. She didn't move to clean it up. "What?" "I'm investigating a security breach. Someone stole classified research materials from the sub-basement lab, and I need to ask you about some financial transactions in your bank account." Maria's face went white, then red. Then she started crying, not guilty tears. Terrified tears. "I didn't steal anything," she whispered. "I swear to God, Sarah, I didn't." "Then where did the money come from?" $6,000 in 3 deposits over the last month." Maria covered her face with her hands. Her whole body shook. "My daughter, Carmen, she's sick. Leukemia. The treatment isn't covered by insurance. We've been drowning in bills. My husband took a second job, but it's not enough." Sarah's chest tightened. She pulled up Carmen's medical records on her tablet, confirmed 8 years old. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Treatment at St. Jude's in Memphis. "Maria, where did the money come from?" "A foundation. The Helping Hands Medical Fund. They reached out to me 6 weeks ago. Said they help families of healthcare workers with sick children. They asked for my daughter's medical records, proof of employment. Then they started sending money." Sarah's mind raced. Helping Hands Medical Fund. She ran a search on the tablet. The foundation existed, registered in Delaware, but the board of directors was a list of shell companies, and the funding source traced back to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands, the same account linked to Victor Markov's network. "Maria," Sarah said carefully, "did they ask you to do anything in return?" "No, just to keep it quiet. They said if too many people applied, the fund would run out." "Did anyone from the foundation ever visit you? Ask you questions about your work?" Maria wiped her eyes. "There was a woman. She came to the hospital about 3 weeks ago. Said she was doing a follow-up interview, making sure Carmen was getting the treatment." "What did she ask you?" "About my job. Where I worked. What departments I had access to." Maria's voice cracked. "Oh God, did I do something wrong?" Sarah reached across the table and took her hand. "You didn't do anything wrong, but they used you. They gave you money to get close to you, to gain your trust. Why? Your clearance badge gives you access to the research wing. Someone cloned it, used it to bypass security and steal from the lab."
Ow.
Maria pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. No, I would never. I know you wouldn't. But someone got close enough to copy your badge or access your security codes. Think, Maria, did you ever lose your badge? Leave it anywhere?" Maria's hands went to her pockets. Then she froze. The woman. The one from the foundation. We had coffee in the cafeteria. I went to the bathroom. She was watching my bag. Sarah stood up. "I need to see security footage from that day." "Do you remember when it was?" 3 weeks ago, Monday, around noon." Sarah pulled up the security system on her tablet. The hospital's cameras covered every public area. She found the cafeteria footage from 3 weeks prior. scrolled through until she found Maria sitting at a table with another woman. The woman was 30. Dark hair, professional clothes. She sipped coffee while Maria talked. Then Maria stood up, walked toward the restrooms. The woman glanced around, reached into Maria's bag on the chair, pulled out her badge, placed something on top of it. A device. Small, flat. 5 seconds later, the badge went back into the bag. Sarah's jaw clenched. A badge cloner. RFID copier. The kind of tech used by intelligence agencies. She zoomed in on the woman's face. Ran it through facial recognition. The results came back in seconds. Nadia Volkov. Former FSB, Russian intelligence. Currently wanted in 4 countries for industrial espionage. The pieces fell into place. Markov wasn't working alone. He had a team, and they'd been operating inside the hospital for weeks, using people like Maria, innocent, desperate people to gain access. Maria, Sarah said quietly, "You're not in trouble, but I need you to stay here. An agent will come to take your full statement." Hey, what about my daughter? The money they gave us due, we have to give it back. Sarah thought about that. Carmen Santos. 8 years old. Fighting for her life, no, she said. Keep the money. Use it for Carmen. This wasn't your fault. Maria broke down, sobbing. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah left the room and immediately called Morrison. I found the access point. Badge cloning. Russian intelligence operative posing as a charity worker. I'm sending you her photo now. We'll issue an APB. Good work, Agent Chen. It's more. If they cloned Maria's badge, they might have cloned others. We need to audit every employee who had contact with this foundation. Act on it. Sarah ended the call. She was heading back to the command center when her tablet buzzed. An alert from the sub-basement. Motion detected in Lab 7. Her blood went cold. Someone was in the lab. Right now, she broke into a run. The elevator felt like it took hours. When the doors opened, she drew her sidearm, a weapon she'd kept locked in her locker for 3 years. Finally back where it belonged. The sub-basement corridor was empty. Silent except for the hum of ventilation, Sarah moved toward Lab 7. The door was ajar. She approached carefully. Weapon raised. Training taking over. Through the crack in the door, she could see someone in a lab coat. Back turned. Hands moving over the cold storage unit, Sarah kicked the door open. Freeze, federal agent. The figure spun around. Dr. Benjamin Fry. He had a vial in his hand. The synthetic antibody. His face was pale, sweating. Put it down, Dr. Fry, Sarah ordered. Slowly, his hand trembled. You don't understand. They have my son. Sarah's finger stayed on the trigger, but she didn't fire. Explain. Tears ran down his face. My ex-wife. She took him to Russia. Said it was a vacation, but she hasn't brought him back. They said if I didn't give them the antibody, I'd never see him again. Sarah's heart sank. Another innocent. Another victim. Dr. Fry, if you give them that vial, thousands of people could die. That technology in the wrong hands, I don't care, he shouted. It's my son. And he'll grow up knowing his father helped arm terrorists. Is that what you want? Benjamin's hand shook harder. The vial nearly slipped from his grip. Please, he whispered. I just want my boy back. Sarah lowered her weapon slightly. Put down the vial, and I promise you, we will get your son back. But not like this. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then slowly, he set the vial back in the cold storage unit and collapsed to his knees, sobbing. 2 agents escorted Dr. Fry out of the lab. He didn't resist. He looked broken. Sarah watched him go, feeling the weight of it all. She secured the vial, called Morrison. Within minutes, a full hazmat team arrived to transport the antibody to a secure federal facility. But something still bothered her, Markov. I tried to bribe the hospital director. Maria's badge had been cloned weeks ago. Dr. Fry had been compromised. Yet Markov had only obtained 1 sample. 2 days ago, That meant the network had been trying for weeks. Multiple approaches. Multiple assets. Why? Sarah pulled up the research files on her tablet. The antibody formula. The synthesis process. The testing protocols. And then she saw it. A notation in the corner of one document. Added 4 days ago. By Dr. Helen Cortez. Synthesis error detected. Original batch compromised. Formula requires adjustment. Sarah's breath caught. The sample Markov had stolen was defective. She ran back to the elevator. Took it to the 3rd floor. Dr. Cortez's office was at the end of the hall. The door was locked. Sarah used her override clearance inside. Dr. Cortez sat at her desk, composed, a glass of scotch in her hand. I was wondering when you'd figure it out, Helen said quietly. Sarah closed the door behind her. You gave him the wrong formula. I gave him exactly what he deserved. A batch that will degrade into useless proteins within 72 hours. By the time his buyers realize it's worthless, they'll have already paid him millions. Sarah moved closer. You knew. You knew about Maria's badge? About Dr. Fry's son? I suspected. When the Foundation contacted Maria, I did some digging. Found the shell companies. The offshore accounts. I've been in intelligence long enough to recognize a setup. Sarah's eyes narrowed. You were intelligence? Helen smiled. Sad. Tired. CIA. 30 years. Retired 5 years ago, or so I thought. But when you've spent your whole life protecting secrets, you never really stop. She set down the glass. I couldn't prove who the mole was, but I could protect the real formula. So I let them think they'd won. Let them steal a batch that was already corrupted. To who? The FBI? The military? I didn't know who to trust. And I couldn't risk the real antibody getting out while we sorted through bureaucracy. Ellen stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting. The federal vehicles were still parked in formation. I spent 3 decades making impossible choices, she said. Sacrificing pieces of myself to keep people safe. And when I retired, I thought I was done. But then this project landed in my lap. A chance to save lives instead of end them. I wasn't going to let some arms dealer take that away, Sarah understood. More than Helen knew, the door opened. General Winters walked in. Behind her, Morrison and 2 armed agents. Winters looked at Helen, then at Sarah. Captain Chen. Report. Sarah straightened. Military posture. Dr. Cortez intentionally provided a compromised sample to hostile actors. The real antibody formula is secure. Dr. Fry and Maria Santos were both exploited by the enemy network. They're cooperating fully. Winters turned to Helen. Dr. Cortez, did you act alone? Yes, and you didn't inform federal authorities because I didn't trust anyone. Helen's voice was steel. I've seen too many operations compromised by leaks. Too many good people die because someone talked. Winters studied her for a long moment. Then she did something Sarah didn't expect. She smiled. Dr. Cortez, you just saved this country from a potential catastrophe. Markov's network will spend the next month trying to figure out why their prize doesn't work. By the time they realize it's fake, we'll have rolled up their entire operation. Helen blinked. You're not arresting me? For what? Protecting classified research using your best judgment? I'd give you a medal, but then I'd have to kill you. It was a joke. Barely. But Helen laughed anyway, relief flooding her face. Winters gestured to Morrison. Get Dr. Cortez debriefed. Full statement. And make sure her security clearance is flagged for reactivation. We might need her again. Morrison nodded. He escorted Helen out of the office. Sarah stood alone with the general. Walk with me, Winters said. They left the office. Moved through the hospital corridors. Staff and patients had been released from lockdown. Life was returning to normal, except nothing was normal anymore. They reached the main lobby. Through the glass doors, Sarah could see the motorcade waiting. You did good work today, Captain, Winters said. You always do. Thank you, ma'am. I need to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Sarah met her eyes. Yes, ma'am. Do you want to come back? Full reinstatement. Your rank restored. A place on my team? Sarah's heart raced. The offer was everything she'd once dreamed of. Command, purpose, the clarity of a mission. But she thought of Maria, of Dr. Fry, of Carmen Santos fighting leukemia. Of all the patients she'd cared for over 3 years, I'm a good soldier, Sarah said slowly. But I'm a good nurse too, and maybe the world needs both. Winters nodded. So you want to stay under? If that's an option, it is. We'll keep your dual status active. FBI by day. JSOC when we need you. But Sarah, you can't keep living 2 lives forever. Eventually you'll have to choose. I know. They walked outside. The evening air was cool. Crisped at the motorcade, a young lieutenant stood at attention. When he saw General Winters, he saluted. Then he saw Sarah. His eyes went to the badge clipped to her scrubs. The one that said RN Cardiac Unit, but Winters had briefed her security team. The lieutenant knew exactly who Sarah was. He saluted her. 2, Sarah returned it. Sharp, precise. 3 years of rust falling away in an instant. Behind them, the hospital doors opened. Dr. Webb stepped out. Still pale, still shaken, he saw the salute. Saw General Winters standing beside. Sarah Hayes' face went through a dozen emotions. Confusion, realization, shame. Winters turned to him. Dr. Webb, I believe you and Captain Chen need to have a conversation. Sarah looked at her former director. The man who'd almost accepted a bribe. The man who dismissed her as just another nurse. Dr. Webb, she said quietly, I'll be returning to my regular shift tomorrow. If that's acceptable, he stared at her. You're coming back? Someone has to take care of the patients. But you're a captain. You're military. I'm a nurse, Sarah interrupted. That part was always real. She extended her hand. After a moment, he shook it. Winters climbed into her vehicle, leaned out the window. Captain Chen, stay sharp. We'll be in touch, yes, ma'am. The motorcade pulled away. Black vehicles disappearing into the night. Sarah stood in the parking lot alone. Her scrubs still smelled like antiseptic. Her badge still said R. But inside she was different. She'd been reminded of who she really was. And tomorrow, she'd wake up and do it all over again. 2 lives. 2 identities. 2 ways of saving the world behind her. Maria emerged from the hospital. Her shift was ending. Sarah, she called. Are you okay? Sarah turned, smiled. Yeah, I'm okay. Want to grab coffee? I could use a friend right now. I'd like that. They walked to Maria's car together. 2 nurses. 2 women who'd survived the worst day of their lives. And tomorrow, they'd go back to saving others. Because that's what nurses do. Even the ones who carry silent badges.